my goodness.
Little bumpy.
Welcome back to Winterberg in Germany, ready for the deciding run. Race 4 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup. Martin Haven and Greg Cackett ready to call the action with you. 18 sleds safely completed the first heat. They will all go in the second in reverse order of their first heat performance. And what's interesting is that the first heat leader is not the man who's won 5 of the last 6 races on this track, Francesco Friedrich. In third place is your teammates, or are your teammates, Brad Hall and Taylor Lawrence, and it is a very close lead group.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing at the top of the track here, the top 5 sleds, what a race we've got on our hands, because these guys, and we're seeing the start really is separating it, but then saying that, we're seeing Hafer slightly further back in the start, just showing how a superior drive and decent equipment can get you down into the medals as well.
Well, Brad lies in third, 300s ahead of Switzerland's Michael Vogt, so that's how tight that little battle is. And then just a few hundreds ahead of him, as you said, Christoph Hafer. Hafer in the silver medal position with Matthias Sommer, and they are just a 10th out of the lead and 100th ahead of Brad Hall.
That's it. So Brad will be looking to brush up his last drive. There were a couple of big areas, and you'll know that will help him with some speed down the bottom of the track. And then obviously we've got the big guys at the top here, Lochner and Fleischhauer, and we're seeing there again superior start, an excellent drive, and it's going to be fascinating to see him, because I honestly I can't tell how much I rate Hafer's driving. He's a fantastic driver, and with that start deficit, it's going to be really down to the wire, really interesting to watch.
Well, Hansi with 4 silver medals in the last 5 races here. He has never won on this track in two-man. This could be the day for it. And as you said, Georg Fleischhauer, this new addition to the German team this year has, well, he's come out of the backfield like a bullet, hasn't he? He's really ignited the sled. He and Hansi Lochner have pushed once together and have 1 gold medal, so his 100% record might remain alive. If, however, Hansi somehow manages to fumble the reception, then we could have a first-time winner, because neither second place Christoph Hafer or Brad Hall or Michael Vogt in 4th have won a two-man World Cup gold medal yet. And again, we talked about this, didn't we, off air before the break? When you take Friedrich out of the equation, suddenly you've got this massive bubbling pot of talent that has been sort of corked up by the brilliance of Francesco Friedrich, and they're all waiting for any crack in the armour to strike.
No, absolutely. The thing is, when you've got someone of Franz's quality dominating the sport for so long, what it does is it sets a mental barrier so high that sometimes athletes struggle to kind of really believe that they can do that. It's like Usain Bolt effect, you know, people didn't really believe in the races that they could beat him. And now that's been done. We're starting to see a slight shift. We're starting to see chinks in the armour, with Friedrich being slightly unhealthy and everything. But these guys, the respect I have for Margis and for Friedrich and his boys, they just know how to win, even when they're far back. So definitely do not count them out of this one.
So Torsten getting ready for his race, and talking there with Melanie Hassler about her race, where she led in the first heat of the Monobob, and then just it all kind of, I think she got over, I don't think she overdrove, I think she just got far too overhyped, and it just kind of all fell apart. But again, in the women's field, I do sense that her time is definitely coming.
Absolutely, she had a beautiful drive. That first heat was
absolutely. The German talent is hard to beat, but it's not impossible to beat. Lots of fans here, not just from Germany. You'll see and hear Dutch accents, Belgian accents, and all sorts of others. So it's always a well-educated and well-informed crowd here. They do love their racing. 18 sleds, though, go in reverse order. You saw Drazen Silic of Croatia moments or 2 ago. He was chewing the fat with the Italian brakemen just before getting ready to warm up for his run. He starts us off, and new boy Martin Krantz, I should have remembered that, from Liechtenstein, goes off second. As I said in the first heat, the first sled from Liechtenstein in the World Cup race, I believe, since 2014. And Hansi Lochner will go last of all. Race 4 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup in Winterberg in Germany. Heat 2 of 2. Drazen Silic of Croatia gets us back underway. Mario Starek, the brakeman, behind him. And a welcome return to Drazen to World Cup racing.
Absolutely. So we'll see them flying off here. Let's see what they can do in the start. as we said before, Drazen he just loves the sport. He loves turning up. He'll be happy with any result here. And getting down all 4 runners, he's a real character.
And he's kind of the embodiment of the old style of bobsledders where everybody did it for fun and enjoyment, and that's exactly why he's here.
Definitely. And you know what? This is pretty quiet at the moment. This isn't too bad at all.
It's a rented German sled, and he did have a good-looking drive in the first run. He can drive a sled. His brakeman, new to the sport, 34 years old, and that's part of the reason why they are behind, because they're starting a long way shy of the benchmark.
Absolutely, but this is nice. As we said in the start, you know, at the start of the show, you've got to really be clean up the top there to carry that speed down to this bottom bit. This is where the chaos starts. Off 9, into the labyrinth, around 12, 13. It's not too bad for their little tap before 14, but this isn't too bad. He's going to come through here, and I think he's going to be happy with his day's work there.
Yeah, better speed than in the first heat, 57.24, so he takes a quarter of a second out of his first run. That's a good improvement. Speed at the bottom, even off what everybody else would say is a very pedestrian start, still doing 80.2 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, you just see, to corner 9, you just see how much this track just disappears from you. And in the back of the sled, you feel it too. So it's kind of like driving Miss Daisy all the way down, and then Miss Daisy puts her foot down, and suddenly you're getting rattled, and you're like, oh my God, I've got to hold on here.
Miss Daisy reconnects the other 4 cylinders, and suddenly away you go. Well, he got a nice, quiet run through the 0 curve to 1. And down here in the labyrinth, this transition is always pretty rocky in a 2-seat sled, very rocky in a 4-seat sled. It was built, this track, for when sleds were very, very much more slower.
There we go. Oh, that is so cool to see. We've really missed the crowds. That is so good to see.
Exactly what Laura Nolte was saying after winning the Monobob race. I said, how good is it to win here? She said, it's just great to win with fans, to race with fans. 100%. Next up from Liechtenstein then, Martin Krantz and Lawrence Lenher. First Liechtenstein sled in the World Cup since Michel Klingler back in 2014. And that, even to me, seems like a bit of a lifetime ago.
Yeah, and we're even seeing here, Lorenz, the brakeman in the back there, probably the first person to have a pandemic situation. You know, people started businesses. He expressed an interest in bobsleigh, and now he's here. So yeah, we all make terrible decisions.
His coach is a former slider, and so that was the connection. He was looking for something to do, and oh, are you really? Okay, boom, in you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, like we said before as well, with smaller nations, it's great to get visibility, see them here competing, get them, you know, around other athletes, even just in the warm-up. It's really important to see how athletes warm up, see how they train, and see what level they need to get to.
And there is a great degree of monkey see, monkey do. When you're with people of caliber, you kind of aspire to be them, and you watch what they do, and you try and absorb what they do, and that's, yeah, very important.
Absolutely, and you know what, he's having a pretty good drive here. He's just like Drazen, really. I think they should be pretty happy with his day's work, and he's, you know, better part of a second ahead here. He's 8 tenths up, 9 tenths at the bottom. And
just one little rocky drop.
Yeah, I love it.
Excellent. So 57.05, 56.89 in the first heat was actually not quite as quick as his first run, but welcome to the World Cup and welcome back to Liechtenstein. It's been a long, long time since this tiny country, I was going to say principality, it's a tiny nation, has been represented in the World Cup.
And watch him load here. He's in pretty well. You want to brush that up. Brakeman as well. You want to get that load really sorted, so you make sure whatever start you get, you don't kill the velocity with a sloppy load and everything. So that was not too bad. But again, as they get better, as they get more experienced and better drilled, look, this guy's just a baby, man. Look, they've got time.
20 years old. Now, I think he's going to stay here for the Junior Worlds as well next week, so that might be quite entertaining. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Next up, Li Chunjian of China, Wu Qingxi behind him. And Wu seems to be the Chinese two-man brakeman of choice, we were thinking.
Yeah, and again, like I said, we saw some great results in the Europa Cup before Christmas, in the 4-man, some real promising starts. So for a program that we don't know too well, it's going to be fascinating to see how they develop in 4 years to Milan.
And they kind of lost, they basically lost 2 years, didn't they, of being part of the World Cup because of COVID and all the restrictions that China particularly suffered. In the end, didn't hurt them too much in terms of their performance in the games.
Definitely. We're seeing some good turnover, good powerful steps, and loading pretty well, and that's not too bad. We're seeing anything in the 5.2s today seems to be pretty useful.
5.25 first heat, 5.27 in the second.
So as a brakeman, you never really want to drop time into the second heat. I dropped time in Placid, and it is a wounding feeling. But
you just know your driver's sort of had his best by that stage.
Exactly. Well,
it's definitely never in the bag.
Immediately.
Yeah, exactly. It's straight onto him.
Again, a little skid there, but we're seeing, again, a pretty clean drive. Nice entrance into Kreisel, controlling that well.
And again, because of the pandemic, these guys have not been on European tracks for a couple of seasons, so whatever knowledge they had started to build up has taken a back seat for 2 years.
No, absolutely. And a bit of a flop off there, but generally this is good stuff.
The guys top speed, 80.9 miles an hour. And
second on top of these boys.
Lee takes a lead. China, I wonder by what factor the population of China outnumbers the population of Liechtenstein. But I don't think there's 1.7 million people in Liechtenstein. There might not even be 1.7 million.
No, but again, but as a bobsleigh nation, they're still relatively new, right? But they have a huge talent pool. So again, more visibility, more results. People see Chinese bobsleigh as a credible sport to get into. They will start attracting that talent too as well, and the program will only blossom from there.
Interesting. We were talking to a Chinese athlete before Christmas and saying that in China, on TV, they only see Chinese athletes winning, and so they're perplexed when they see Chinese athletes who do not win at something. Yeah. So there's a Chinese driver in Formula One, and the Chinese audience is going, what's he doing there? He can't drive. He doesn't win everything.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting.
Interesting the filter with which these things are perceived in certain places. But they have the lead, 3 down and 15 to go. And next up, Czech driver Adam Dobesh with Dominik Zaleski. Dobesh in his second World Cup race. He was in North America, raced in the World Cup, made his debut in Park City, Utah. And these guys, 5:20, 6th fastest off the block in the first heat. That's a big start.
It's a great start with this heavy sled, because these guys are both small. Like, Zaleski on the back, he's only 84, 85 kilos. But, the 100-meter national record holder, so you've got wheels like that, you should be putting something, even with that weight deficit, and he's done a great job there.
And Dobesh, briefly, a brakeman before he started driving as well, so he's got those moves too. 5:23 second heat, 900s up, building the advantage over Lee.
So the start, he's a bit late there, that's going to wipe out some speed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame, man. Skid there.
Oh, and again, the timing is just off, isn't it, down to the Kreisel?
Yeah, he just needs to pull this together. Now, like you said, as a pilot, you must be in there cursing yourself. You've just got to take a bit of a hard take on into 9 as well.
Yeah.
But he's been through there.
And again, relatively inexperienced here, very high in 11, flirting with the woodwork.
A little lay off these corners. So Dominic's going to be in the back going, oh, my God.
Yeah, well, and Adam, I think in the front as well, exactly the same. When you're late off 11, suddenly that little labyrinth comes at you like a rush of headlights towards you. Very quick, 56.80 run. They dropped 4500s.
Yeah, but this is still, the Czech team as well is going through a period of transition. It's another burgeoning team, All this stuff is just learning for Adam, and for Dominic.
Skid off 0 and a tap on the wall down to 1. And it's just to get onto 1 on the right side. But again, here,
that was the start, really, of this kind of...
Thought he was done with the curve in turn 3, and apparently not so. And then here, super high, inverted. The brakeman there is feeling himself separating from the sled. So Dobesh stalks away, disappointed with himself. But at least they didn't use their helmets. Next up are debutant from Latvia, Jēkabs Kalenda, with Ivo Kleinbergs behind him.
So I just watched the hit here in the first heat. I just thought they were slightly out of time, which really just spoke to how amazing the start was, really. They still had a great start off that, but Ivo Kleinbergs is another huge talent, a huge bloke. Look at the size of the guy.
Yeah.
That's a lot better.
Only the 6-2-man World Cup start for him. He started in the World Cup last season. Oh, trying to squeeze himself in. Looks like he got his left foot caught and couldn't get down over his knee.
Yeah, so everyone seems to be just dropping a couple of hundreds off their first heat start, which again, never really want to be, but sometimes it can be conditions. Sometimes, like you say, it could be maybe a pilot spent, with the greatest respect to Jēkabs.
It tends to be that the start groove all day yesterday and in previous years does not speed up very often.
No, and he might be taking his velocity around. Like, again, it seems like he's having a good, nice, quiet run here. And again, we've got another really young guy, 20 years old in the front seat there, and he's really showing some driving chops here beyond his years. So I imagine he'll be sticking around for the World Juniors next week as well.
Yeah, he only had 500s over Lee in the first heat. It's down to 600s now from 1800s up. The speed's not there. I think the Chinese are going to claim another scalp across the line.
Dead heat.
Oh.
And I mean, this is what blows the mind. When I have friends and family watching from home, they can't believe that something over a mile of ice can end up being, you know, a dead heat at the end. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, 2 miles of ice, 2 different sleds, 2 different sets of drivers and brakemen, 2 different starts, different weather conditions from the first run to the second run, and not even 100th of a second between them. It is insanely tight.
Yeah, and so again, the timing was just a bit better than that. Maybe they got away from Calendar a little bit on the handle, but a lot better. But it was just Eva having a little trouble getting in there. But when you're
that's his suit, isn't it? I thought that was his knee stuck up there, but actually he took a lot of time. I mean, and actually Taylor's that kind of, you know, when you've got big shoulders and just squeezing into that tiny sled is not easy.
Some of these big, we found this out about Taylor this week, he's unbelievably flexible. It's the most bizarre thing.
Okay, Jakobs Calendar is our leader. Our first 5 sleds down. Next up, Italy's Mattia Variola. Again, first World Cup start of the season for him. They didn't go to North America. And Jose Obu behind him.
So Jose Obu with the 10.2 100-meter wheels, and Mattia was a fantastic brakeman too. So he's just looking to develop as a pilot, looking to up his skills. But they had a 3rd ranked push in the first one, which is extraordinary in this field. So
I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. And when you've got, you know, a drag race start like that.
Mattia.
Oh, gets a lot of 0, gets away with it.
Just about.
What's the velocity like? Look pretty decent.
You see, but it's sub 520, so you're looking to think that the sleds have gone so far. That was definitely the fastest of the starts.
Yeah. Now, if he gets a tidy run, this could help him move up a little bit.
Yeah, so far again we're looking pretty quiet. A bit of a tap there.
He was 900s behind Mihai Tentea, 1100 behind Taylor Austin, and then 1300s behind Timo Rona. So in this tight little route, we so often find him from about...
that's not what you want.
Trouble.
Oh, that's going to scrub speed.
Yeah.
It really seems to be maintaining. Here we go.
Yeah, it's all going to vanish here, though, isn't it? 1600s at the line, down to 800s. Somehow he hung on.
Oh, he'll be really disappointed with that. You know, like I said in the first year, I think he'd had trouble here last year, and you know, he's still learning as a pilot. But you know, they've got to be happy with that. I've got a feeling that start will stack up well still.
No kidding, no kidding. Well, they're the 3rd fastest start in the first heat at 5:16, 5:18, a couple of hundred slower, but everybody has been.
Yeah, and Delmas, he will have felt that sticky moment.
Jose Abu there, coming in like a smart bomb from 20,000 feet. You saw the sled shudder as he landed.
Absolutely. But I'd argue he did his job there, as Mattia needed to get in a little bit sharper. But
yeah, Mattia hauling it off there. He knew he was in trouble. We saw 3 sleds nearly crash there in the Monobob race. And then that huge steering input has its legacy. So it is the lead for Mattia Variola. Next to the top, the 2 Mihais, Mihai Tentea and skeleton convert turned bobsledder Mihai Pacianu.
Yeah, Mihai Pacianu, you know, kindred spirits. We're all for part of Team Skinny, which is essentially the sub 95 kilo crew. But he's really done a great job putting weight on. He's converted from Skelly.
Dad on the left-hand side.
Oh, that's his dad.
Paul Niagu on the right-hand side.
Now, Mihai Tentea in the front seat, he told me this week he had a little sprain in his hamstrings. That's going to take a little bit of impetus out of the start, but they're not doing too badly there.
Mihai Tentea is the diametric opposite of Francesco Frigic. Almost never not injured.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of races, I must add up the number of races he started in World Cup compared to the number of races in World Cup where he's had to sit in because he's been injured, and that it's a pretty high percentage.
Well, this is why Paciano doesn't consider his debut with him his debut. He considers this his debut.
Yeah.
Because Tentea had struggled with injuries.
Yeah.
He's moving around a little bit. He's got to get himself a little bit. You can just see his head there too, which is unusual in a two-man. He might as well get his seating position there. But this is good from Tentea. He's coming nicely through there into the labyrinth.
Losing a bit of ground, and with only 800s covering the top 3 sleds at the moment, he's going to drop down into 4th place. No.
Another dead heat. Look at that.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. 2 dead heats in a race.
So we have a tie for the lead and a tie for second. 4 sleds covered by 0.08 of a second.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. Good job, guys.
Yeah, Pakianyu's debut was here in Winterberg, but Mihai was sitting in the 4-man sled, and they'd got an injured brakeman as well, so Pakianyu had to get on the back of the sled at short notice. But it wasn't the tidiest run. Mihai Tinter won't be happy with it. There was far too many mistakes for his liking. This is home ice, really, for the Romanian team.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But they've, you know, they've had a good Europa Cup, so far they're, you know, they're still, and again, the guy's still so young. I remember him, Tinter, at 17 years old in my debut in Koenigsegg in the Europa Cup. So the guy's got time on his side.
They got him in basically out of secondary school, so he's still, the baby-faced assassin. Well, next up, Taylor Austin and Shaquille Murray-Lawrence from Canada, and their advantage over our current leaders, well, over Mihai Tinter at least, just 0.02 of a second.
Yeah, so Taylor's going to want to tidy up from that first heat. You know, he's brand new here. He's not been here before. They had a pretty good go of it in training, to be honest, apart from one little spill in the 4-man, but they're... that's a nice load from the pilot. And Shaq is just a hell of an athlete. Yeah. We're looking at a former CFL player and probably the swaggiest guy on scene. The guy wears silk shirts to breakfast. And that's true.
Nice looking 0 to 1. That was well handled by Taylor Austin.
Yeah, again, this looks nice and quiet. Maintaining some of the speed from Shaq on the back there. So Shaq and Cyrus Gray are the sort of dueling brakemen for the 2-man spot this year. Came 1 and 2 with Canadian
which is great, because then you can alternate them. They both stay fit, they both stay healthy, they both stay race fit.
Oh yeah, that's ideal for the 4-man as well, to have guys who are basically ready to go.
Yeah. Still second best speed, but he has crept into the lead. 200s in it. Are we going to get a 3-way tie? Ooh, little high in 11.
See this next clock. No, he's coming away. He's going to do it. This is where Attia will be kicking himself for that exit of 9.
That'll be enough to take the lead. And by a big margin, 1900s. On the left, Justin Cripps, the man who took the bronze medal in the last race here with Cam Stones. That was in January of this year. Not this year, this is 23 now, January of 22.
And that's, I mean, they've got to be happy with that. They maintained their start, and all Taylor needed to do there was improve from the first run, and he did that. And they've
found 1600s of a second, which is no small amount.
Definitely. And we see again, Shaq's one of the smaller dudes on the season, but he's a wedge little guy, and he's so powerful. And let's see his load here again, in with the groove. So again, you really want to load in the groove, so you're not kicking the sled out. You're taking that velocity.
I want to know what position did he play? Was he a receiver? He doesn't look like a lineman.
He was a running back, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, he'll correct me after this if I get that wrong. Good job, Taylor.
So Taylor Lawrence and Taylor Austin, Shaquille Murray-Lawrence lead. Our first 8 sleds are down, 10 still to go here in Winterberg. Well, entertaining stuff. The Canadians just putting themselves a distance ahead of that little group behind, but still 4 sleds covered by 0.08 of a second after 2 runs each. That's pretty impressive. And, you know, that's what this track does. Because it's so hard to take a big advantage, you often end with tiny little gaps between the sleds.
Definitely, and this is what we're talking about with it's just that top bit, because it goes unbelievable. I was doing the track walk with the R2 new guys, Leon Greenwood and Aaron Gulliver. I was taking them around the track, and you can actually see, I didn't even realise just how flat it gets. Actually, how when it goes uphill, and when you're going that slowly, any little driver error, and you're just scrubbing your speed.
You go down into corner 3 and then come back uphill out of it. Then it's flat. Then you go uphill through 4, and then you only start to drop again as you go down through turn 5. It's it's a downhill sport, but not all of it is downhill.
And again, this is as a competing athlete, it's so cool to see enthusiastic, knowledgeable crowds in the audience.
And actually for the fans as well, nice to be able to come back to a track, because, you know, they've all been sitting at home watching it, and they're all still fans. And the races have been in town, and that's the thing of it. You know, you don't have to venture off into the countryside. We're right on the edge of town.
And this is something that we've noticed through some World Cups as well. Some tracks advertise better than others. So you can be, even in North America, they did such a good job at the events they put on, but it's so poorly advertised in the towns that people don't even know it's happening. So that's definitely something that can improve going forward, because the tracks themselves put on incredible shows. Classic was unbelievable.
Manny Schulter there, you just saw sticking his head in, who is the president of the jury, race director here. Just celebrated his birthday a couple of weeks ago, ripe old age of 40, plus VAT.
We've got Chris Woolley there, coaching the Swiss, former GB coach.
10 sleds to go. Race for the two-man bobsleigh World Cup. Timo Röhner for Switzerland, making a rare World Cup appearance here. No Cedric Follador today.
So again, and these are great pushes, and this is because he's got an absolute tank on the back. Luca Roddy is a real talent, and we saw his talent a couple of years ago when we saw the Swiss Bush results, and we saw he was basically sort of topping them out, or up there with Sandro, and you know, you can really see his ability. And he's a real asset to Timo, who's trying to get that third spot for the World Champs.
Yeah.
That's not what you want. So he's just taken that clip on into corner 5 we were talking about. He's skid there. And if he doesn't carry some speed through here, we're going to see Taylor Austin potentially jump up here.
Yeah, quarter-second advantage, but only the 7th best speed, so that'll be down, I was going to say, into single digits, very nearly. He's not got enough speed to carry him in the lead all the way to the line. The question now is, where does he drop to? There is 1900s from first.
He might hold it here
to second. It's going to be very tight. And
he's
just does it.
Oh, I was thinking about another dead heat lap.
Yeah, well, not that far away, 400ths of a second.
So you know what Timo's actually done exceptionally. So I will have to shout for the brakeman here. I say the sheer velocity Luca put into that sled is the reason that Timo's error didn't come off there, because they've done really well to hold that in. I thought that time was going to drop away a lot more there. Good job, Timo.
Yeah.
Just watch that clip, and it just sets them off, and it's, yeah.
Now, the expansion joint was a factor yesterday in skeleton, but the skeleton athletes are much lower down. It's a very big factor in bobsleigh today. We've seen an awful lot of speed wiped off sleds by clipping that.
Yeah, we really saw it in the mono earlier as well.
Yeah. Be nice to see a bit of sled preparation or a bit of track preparation, but there's just not enough cold weather to build the ice up, and I'm not sure you can shave much off it either. Next up, Dominik Dvorak and Jakub Prochaska for the Czech Republic. Dvorak making his first World Cup start of the season, didn't go to North America. He's been back here in Europe and developing with a new bunch of brakemen.
Yeah, it was a real sensible decision from them. They've got such talent in the Czech Republic, and a real rich heritage of top brakemen. You know, Jakub Nosek and Jan Sindelar, Dominik Suki, these guys were fantastic brakemen, something for these guys to aspire to, and Dom kind of leading the charge there, developing the next generation. But Prochaska here is also a useful brakeman. He'll be staying for next week, where he takes on pilot duty for the World Juniors. Just ran that quite far there. And they've improved their start, 200, that's excellent.
Well, that's exactly what every brakeman wants, is to go quicker in the second push, even faster. 5:26 gives them just 200s over Timo Röhner.
He's back down to 200s here, so you might see this going to green numbers at the next one.
Well, they had 700s in hand from the first heat and just gave away a little in the start.
There we go, Dom. If you just hold this nice and controlled around Kreisel.
Yeah, good speed, good exit. Only the 4th best speed, so maybe he was having to work a little harder in Kreisel than he would like.
But he's got change here. He's the better part of 2/10 of that clock.
Yeah.
He's clean through here, picking up the speed through the chaotic. There we go.
All right, so now we look ahead of him at Emil Tsipoulis, who only had a 300s advantage. That's a good run, 56.19.
Yeah, I think you'll be really pleased with that. And from Jakub's point of view as well as the brakeman, you know, you've dropped your start time by 200s. You've done your job. He's braked the sled, so he's really done his job, because that does go wrong sometimes. I think Don can be pretty happy with that.
Yep. 2 years ago, Dominik Dvorak was 3rd in the overall two-man World Cup rankings. He had such a standout season in the pre-Olympic year. And that's the kind of form he wants to return to. As a driver, he should be right up with the likes of Brad Hall, Mikkel Vogt and Christoph Hafer, challenging for medals every time out. And this new, younger set of brakemen behind may be the impetus he needs. He hasn't lost the love, has he?
No, and you're bang on. He was always part of that up-and-coming crowd, you know, Brad and Mickey and all those guys, and he'll be looking to get back to that with some of these new boys. There's a couple of good guys in there, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And what about this young man, El Ceboulis? As we said, just 300s in hand. Hugely experienced brakeman behind him, Mads Miknes. And that's really important when a young man comes into the World Cup, is to have a lot of experience around him.
Yeah, Mats is just a machine, and he was out-pushed by Kleinbergs in the first one by 100. So look, he's run that far, and that's
a lot
just
of
a little
zero.
dodgy. So, yeah, the time has dropped there. So that again, that can happen if you try too hard, and you end up running it a bit too far. You try supermanning it a bit, and then you get in like, out of the grooves, you go into a skid, and then that can be all the road. So
yeah,
there we go. There's the red numbers now. Even though he's not driving this too badly.
No, but that loss of speed over the little hump in corner zero will take a while to unwind itself. Decent speed, but not quite as quick as Dvorak in the Kreisel.
Yeah, there's a nice exit there.
Coming back, down
These
to
next
200s. Oh, it's going to be very tight, isn't it?
He's done very well here. He's clawed this back.
This could be another dead heat. Second best speed. Dvorak was quick. Is he quick enough? He is 200.
Oh, look at that. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, Dvorak closed 100th, a 56.19 second run, a 56.20 for Emil Ceboulis, but he hangs on by 200ths of a second.
Definitely, you can just see where the start there, where the velocity potentially came out of it a bit, and that kind of speaks down to the quality of the drive from Emil. I think he'll be actually pretty happy with that.
Yeah, this is massive PB territory, not the most experienced.
So Mats tends to sometimes pick up the sled a little bit. He's a powerful guy, but I've seen this bloke pick up a sled in Altenburg and equal the start record. So we're dealing with a serious powerhouse here.
And Ceboulis drove really nicely low down on the track just to bring it back and overhaul Dominic Dvorak.
And it's Latvia that I'm personally looking forward to going back to as well. The fans there are exceptional.
Yes, and they'll be back as well. Absolutely. So for Switzerland, Simon Friedli and Andreas Haas. Timo Röner of Switzerland lies in third place. And Simon Friedli in 7th after the first heat, and he is not the last Swiss sled that we get to.
So we're looking for a delectable start here from Friedli and Andy. So Andy's got that 10,600-meter speed, so you can see his legs turning very well there. He's managed to put on a lot of weight as well. He's going to be a pretty big boy in the back there.
5.18. That speaks business, doesn't it? That's Andreas Haas going, OK, come on, let's have some of that. 300s
in the right direction there. Well done, boys. That's fantastic.
Simon Friedli, formerly one of the #1 brakeman in the Swiss Federation.
Yeah, I mean, I had stories from Willie about, Simon squatting 200 kilos for speed reps.
Yeah.
The guy's got serious power in those legs. He's got plenty in the tank here, plenty in the bank to...
Good speed too.
Nice. This is great. This is good job.
Quicker than Ceboulis. So he's going to extend that advantage. This is a big, big drive away now for Simon Friedli.
Yeah, this is a statement.
He only had 1,200s over Emil Ceboulis in the first heat. Look at this, he's added another half second to it, and he's still flying at the bottom of the track. Wow, what a drive.
That is the whole crew is an absolute blinder there. 1,300ths
of a second quicker than his first heat, and in Winterberg, that is not easy to do. He didn't have a shocker in the first heat. He was 7th, for goodness sake. That could be top 5 run.
That's so cool to see this sort of thing, because when you see a true crew effort, time dropping, drive excelling, and holding this together. Look, he's done so well here. Carrying his speed down into the danger zone off corner 9, and all that speed Andy gave him at the start has just been used to great effect, and he's reaping the rewards, almost half a second.
Really nice stuff from Simon Friedli.
Yeah, great job, Simon.
Has the lead with 6 sleds to go.
Sorry, Simon,
Simon, I don't know, the Swiss have their own way of pronouncing everything.
Well, in Park City, he was called Friedli D, so he's been looking forward to coming back to Germany.
Not sure who Friedli Dunn was. Markus Treichel next up with young brakeman Christian Huber. And having inherited the top Austrian brake crew on the retirement of Benny Meyer at the end of last year, it has transformed Marcus Treichel's fortunes.
Definitely, and Marcus used to have good crews. You know, we had Marcus Gluck, who's a fantastic powerlifter, even stronger than I thought he was. He's an incredible lifter. But he's really reaping the benefit from these speedy, powerful athletes he's taking from Benny. Christian is, as I said in the first heat, a top operator on the back of a four-man. He's brilliant. So I'm glad to see him getting an opportunity in the two-man here.
Yeah. 5:22 first start, 5:26 second start, so 4 vital hundredths of a second slower.
And he's got through that little danger zone we've been seeing, entrance into 5. Bypass that. This is all tidy.
Maybe too tidy. Third best speed.
Ooh, that was a
double pressure. He didn't have the speed that he thought he had going into the Kreisel, and the back of the sled was just walking away from him.
Very late off 9 there.
This is not a good drive by Marcus Treichel. This is not what he produced in the first heat. This is all the mistakes you make in training coming into a race run. 9th best speed, and he drops 4 spots.
Yeah, not where he wants to be, and obviously that's going to be made to look even worse by what Friedli did in the round before. You know, he is such an exceptional driver.
Yeah.
If you have a sloppy one, you're going to get punished.
That was over 3/4 of a second slower on that run than Simon Friedli. Really bad news. And here, look, you just see the rear runners. He's just not got the speed to hold the line. He's trying to hold a long, high line, and it's just too high for the speed he's got.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that means there's a little speed dropping out of the track. Is that a line that worked in the first heat that's suddenly not working in the second? It's unusual that a driver will, you know, try something radically different.
He's going close to the roof in that one.
Yeah.
That's not somewhere you want to be either.
Now then.
So we can hear the
horns
hear the horn
at the start, heralding the arrival at the start line of Francesco Friedrich, and we do not have 1 to go. We have 5 to go. This is unusual territory. Friedrich not 100% healthy, and that means it's 110% effort from big Torsten Margis on the back of the sled.
Yeah, I mean Friedrich, he's jogging there.
He is. That
really
is a proper first run in Whistler jog.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. He's not fit. And that's never something you want to see. You know, it's seeing one of the greatest of your sport, you know, running lame like that. But you know, credit to him for getting back out there, and still, the guy is a racer. He wants to race to the end, and he'll want to see just what he can do off a deficit start here. I know that's what will be in his head.
Yeah, instead of starting 5:14, they're starting 5:34. So everything's a learning experience. What does it mean when you start 2/10 slower on what's already a slow track?
Yeah.
And this is knowledge in the bank. The last time we had a World Cup podium without Francesco Friedrich on in two-man was the 3rd of January 2014. It's the 7th of January 2022. That's how good he is. And he comes across the line, loses a spot. Then he was 5th. Today, he may only be 6th. And yet, on one of his worst days, he's still top 6.
That's it. He's still on the wider podium, which obviously will be of little consolation to him when you're someone that wins as much as that. But you know what? The guy's human, and when you've got a start deficit like that, and also again, let's not take it away from what Friedli did in the rounds before. He had an exceptional drive, and he's earned the spots he's jumped there. So
absolutely right.
But he's a great guy, Franz.
Yeah.
We had some real good chats in North America.
Quite gingerly, isn't he? Actually, that was jogging off. I mean, you don't go a 10th slower at the start, not with Torsten behind you.
No. And again, but you can still see the quality of the load. You can still appreciate the skills of the guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's no question. Everything's still going on between the ears, but he is just walking a little gingerly, and I wonder whether he might even sit in tomorrow in the four-man. Yeah, any hope of a double perfect season has now gone. In the blue jacket there, Martin Wolf from ZDF, the German broadcaster who is here this weekend. Chris Woolley at the front of the sled for Michael Vogt and Sandro Michel.
Yeah, so now we get to this, the business end here now. This is where the real race is going to come. For these top spots now.
Yeah, we're into the top 4. 1400s cover are medal contenders.
So,
5.18.
Well done, boys. Good job, Sandro. So they were at 5.20 in the first heat, so they've taken 200ths off that. And again, this is exceptional. Sandro's carrying a pretty nasty prolapse disc in his neck.
Yeah.
It's pretty extraordinary the guy's sliding anyway, and to compete at this level is unreal. We're going to see the talent in both his hands now, because the guy got through there. I was just waiting to not do the commentary curse on him there. He got through. And look at this. We're going to see this time growing at #1 speed.
Well, now, that's interesting, because Mihai Tente of Romania has had the fastest speed at every speed trap up until right now. Mikel Vogt going quicker into the Kreisel, and he's building his lead half a second over Simon Friedli. But it's not about Friedli, it's not about being best Swiss, it's about trying to win his first ever two-man gold medal, 55.61. That's a second quicker than we just saw Francesco Friedrich coming down.
And that's faster than he went in the first heat.
Yeah.
Almost a tenth faster.
1700s quicker. That is impressive stuff.
Yeah, great job then. Again, that's Swiss sled #2 who have put in a huge crew performance. The lads dropped 200ths off the start, so Sandro's done his job. They've loaded well, and they'll be looking to put to bed, the demons of Lake Placid as well. Bless him, Alain. Had the load error, and
he's had a lot of fourth places in his time, Mikel Vogt, and he doesn't want this to be another one. I said 1700s, 2700s better than his first heat. No, hang on, I've got that wrong.
It was 61.
Yeah, 61 for him. So, yeah, compared to a 70 in the first heat. So 900's better.
No, good job, guys.
Yeah, really good stuff. So he leads with 3 to go. Next up, Graham Richardson, the coach, Brad Hall and Taylor Lawrence, the crew for Team GB.
So Brad will know what he's got to sort out in this round.
Like Mikel Vogt, yet to win a two-man gold medal. Won the last four-man race this year, or last year, in Lake Placid.
So the boys will be certainly looking to get swifty here with this start, because Taylor was 200ths off the top spot in the first heat. 5.11!
Fantastic, 5.11.
Come on, Brad, hold it together. There we go.
Gets a bit of corner zero. You feel free to be very, very enthusiastic for your team.
No, I'm going to remain completely impartial.
No, you can't remain impartial. 1100ths of a second is the advantage. Now, he doesn't want a medal, he wants the medal. Little skid. That's because he steered off 3 to avoid the kink in 4. It didn't slow him down as much as hitting that expansion joint, but he does need to find speed from the Kreisel.
So we'll see what this next box is. He's in the red. So
that's okay. Only the 5th best speed, yeah, a couple of skids. So Mikel Vogt looking hopefully at the screen, looking for another mistake from Brad Hall, but can Brad find the speed lower down? 900's back. Fastest speed of all.
But he's not
could be enough. Is it enough to take the lead? It's not enough.
Oh, Brad, he's going to be, again, he's going to look at where that went wrong and he's gutted with that. But extraordinary start. I mean, Taylor is just fantastic. When we reached out to him to get him involved, it was literally because of the size of the man. We just said, there's an enormous unit. He's a Royal Marine. He'll do as he's told. Get him. And he does do as he's told, by me frequently.
Yeah.
And he's just been extraordinary. He's got better and better every year. And we're really seeing this.
Yeah, that skid, well, he was trying to avoid the hit in 4, and he did, but it did still take a bit of speed out of the sled. This, I think, caused him a little bit more damage, that 5-6 crossover, and then into the Kreisel. Confirmation, by the way, from Martin Wolf that is it a torn adductor, a strained adductor that Francesco Friedrich is struggling with. So, as anybody who's pulled intercostal muscles knows, coughing and breathing is tough work. Never mind humping a sled around. So, Mikel Vogt leads, 2 to go, and for German fans, there are 2 German dogs still in the fight. And this could be still a first-time win. Either the 2 Germans flake and Vogt gets his first gold, or maybe Christoph Hafer gets his first two-man gold.
So we're going to see a start that's going to be, turbocharged by Matthias on the back. But Hafer is always just a little bit deficient in the start. But a 25 is a great return for these guys.
Yeah.
So I think they were 9th ranked in the first heat as well there. But we're going to see some exceptional driving here, because Hafer really is one of the most outstanding drivers on the circuit. and proves it regularly. So this, so far, looks pretty good. That's good.
800s back from Mikkel Vogt.
Through there nicely, see no skid, he didn't tap. And he's just carrying that speed.
Gap is growing though, second best speed. Still compared to Mihai Tentea, who somehow managed to find the fastest speed there. Now he's motoring.
Okay, but he doesn't have as much in the bank as I thought.
No.
Oh, and he's late off that. That might do it.
It's gone away. He's not going to catch Vogt now, is he? No matter what speed he's got. He's going further back. He's never been in the lead. Fifth best speed. Is he going to drop behind Brad Hall? He does drop behind Brad Hall. Brad Hall is in the medals.
Top 3 for the boys.
Mikkel Vogt leads, Brad Hall in second. Brad won't really... Okay, another medal is always great, but he wanted a gold, and that has eluded him. Will it elude Mikkel Vogt? Well, Hafer in third place may yet get a medal out of this. It rather depends on the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, that bottom part there, but he seemed to not quite have the speed from earlier on, so maybe the start was just too deficient. And again, so fantastic for Mickey and Sandro. They did their job there. Sandro dropped that start and gave them the velocity they needed. And
quite a hard take onto corner 5, and then hung it out late. Look at this. And then you get the hit, then you get the second hit, you get a skid, you get pushed away, and then you're wrestling it.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the octopus has got more arms than you've got, and he was fighting that all the way down there.
That's it. But those guys, the Olympic bronze medalists, they're still going to be pretty happy with it.
Another day, maybe, for Christoph Hafer. Right now, it's either Mikkel Vogt or Hansi Lochner. And Hansi Lochner and Georg Fleischhauer, one race together, one win together in two-man.
Here we go, so keep an eye on this start, because Georg is not going to want to be outpushed by Taylor here. So we've got 5.11 for the Brits.
Good hit.
So that's flown out, so look at the support at the top.
Yeah.
Look at the time.
5.11.
5.09. Look at that.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So he's giving him what he needs to do. So that is, and if, again, as we've said throughout the entire transmission, if Lochner holds this, his nice quiet drive at the top, and you've got speed and velocity like that, look at that, 3/10 in the bank.
How good is that start, by the way? 5.05, the all-time start record, dates back to the World Championships in 2015, where the start area was just a fraction faster. Oh, little bobble there. Third best speed he has. He's got 3/10. That should be enough.
That is coming.
Should be enough. Don't blow this, Hansi. Good in 11, 12, 13, that's enough. Yeah, 1700s, unless he really flops in here. Fifth best speed. It will be a 7th career two-man goal for Johannes Lochner.
And he resisted the victory roll as well, so nice for Fleischhauer.
And a 2nd career silver for Mikkel Vogt. Brad Hall takes his 2nd career two-man bronze.
Yeah, that's, I mean, Brad will look at that a little bit, but he's, they've got to be happy at top 3 there. Reset now, go out for the 4-man. Mickey is still going to be pleased with the silver medal in Winterberg. And Lochner, I mean, God, talk about gambling on the right guy. He picked the right guy who was available, and he's got 2 golds out of him.
Well, Fleischhauer is now in the sort of beginner slopes of Alexander Schuller's career, potentially. Schuller came in as a brakeman behind Francesco Friedrich. That's never going to be a hard task, is it? But
so even despite Georg's really good sort of push results in Germany in their national push championships and things, it was at the Beijing test event in October where he filled in for an injured Flo Bauer and the 4-man, and their 4-man rocketed. And I was like, that guy's got skills and he needs to be on World Cup. And if his pilot, Richie, if he's not fit at the moment, then someone needs to have him. And
I'm afraid, even if he is fit and is plying his trade in Europa Cup, if you've got a brakeman of that exceptional ability, and clearly he has got exceptional ability, then get him in.
Yeah, he needs to be on the top stage.
Yeah, get him in behind Hansi, and that has really transformed Lochner's fortunes. That's 2 races in a row that he has claimed the gold medal in the two-man World Cup. I'm not sure that he's ever done that before. Unless a double. I don't think he's won double race weekends. I can remember one double two-man weekend where he won one, and then Franz fought back the next day, and they had a gold and a silver apiece.
That's it, but with Franz struggling, we'll see that in tomorrow's 4-man.
Yes, he will have less to trouble him in the four-man because there'll be 3 extra bodies on the sled rather than 1. But nevertheless, when Friedrich is healthy, he puts in an awful lot of effort into the sled. 6th place for Francesco Friedrich, 5th place for Seaman Friedli, and then Christoph Hafer just outside the medals. For Brad Hall, Mikkel Vogt, and winner Hansi Lochner complete the podium. So that's it, all 18 sleds safely down. Just a couple of heart-in-the-mouth moments for a couple of drivers, but no major dramas and no victory roll yet. We've got another day, but actually, I'm not really sure that the track is fast enough to make those happen too often. So
yeah, well, that's kind of music to my ears, really, because I'm on the sled tomorrow, and I've got no interest in victory rolls, unless it is for a gold medal.
Oh, Hansi Lochner takes the lead of the 2-man World Cup from Francesco Friedrich. Brad Hall in 3rd, 2 points ahead of Mikkel Vogt. So great little battles going on. And what is it, 6 points between Hansi and Francesco. So 4 races into the season, another 4 World Cup races to go. 2 in Altenburg in the next fortnight, and then 2 after the World Championships in St. Moritz, which will come up at the end of January and first week of February. And again, good to welcome back new athletes and to welcome back some that we haven't seen this season racing in North America, and great to be back in front of this crowd. Thank you to Greg Cackett for his words of wisdom in the 2-man. We will enjoy watching him in the 4-man race tomorrow with Brad Hall. And until then, on behalf of Greg, the IBSF TV crew, Martin Hayden saying thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the women's bob, and tomorrow afternoon for the Königsklasse, the 4-man bobsleigh.